Wars Celebration is the ultimate expression of everything Star Wars. The things that maybe you love now or things that you loved in the past, all together for 4 days. And it can be an awesome experience for those of you who've ever experienced it, whether you are a Star Wars fan or from back when a film first came out, or you're a current fan now. There's pretty much something for everyone. However, getting to Star Wars Celebration and affording Star Wars Celebration is a separate thing. If you don't know me, my name is Lauren. I am here on the channel. I am known as the Nerdy Entrepreneur, and of course, I love Star Wars and other nerdy things. And in this channel, I kind of document the process of how I'm going to afford to go in the way that I want to go to the next Star Wars Celebration. So if you are a Star Wars fan, or you're someone who is planning to go to Celebration and you're trying to figure out how you're going to afford the expense of going to Star Wars Celebration in 2027, make sure that you give us a like and a subscribe, and just let me know that you're going, because maybe I'll meet you there. Now, look, Star Wars Celebration is not cheap. And last time it was in Japan. I did not go to the Japan one, but last time it was in Japan. And for friends of mine who did go, they were saving for that for like 2 years, okay? They were saving a lot of money to go on that trip, and they had a wonderful time. Maybe you went to the one that was in Japan too, but if not, it is back in the States and it's happened in LA. And at the LA Convention Center versus the Anaheim Convention Center, which may be a good or a bad thing. It's a LA Convention Center, I believe, is a larger convention center. However, it is in LA. Not only bad traffic, but high expense. Okay, so even though Star Wars Celebration will be back in the States, it will still be in a very expensive city in the United States, which is LA. Now, I haven't been to LA years, but what I have did live in a very expensive city, so I understand what it's like trying to afford those types of conventions, especially those that are going on for 4 days, especially one where you will be lined up trying to get into panels early, and then you're trying to walk with all your stuff back to your hotel, and then you're trying to find food that isn't going to break the bank. I understand that. And the thing about Star Wars Celebration, if you guys have never went, a lot of people tend to bring their families. They tend to bring their kids as well. So if you have a family and you're taking yourself, your spouse, and your 1, 2, 3, or 5 kids, it's going to be a wonderful experience, but it's also going to be a very expensive one. So for those of you who are thinking like, hey, I'm going to bring my kid there, understand, from my calculations, for me, on the way I want to go to Star Wars Celebration, it's going to cost me somewhere close to $5,000 to go. Yeah. Now I'm explaining later why that I'm figuring that out for me. So I can imagine with a family of just 2 or 3 or 4 people is going to cost going there. Now the Star Wars Celebration that I went to, which was a few years back, was in Florida and Orlando at the Orange Convention Center. That was a way more affordable convention to go to. Why? Well, besides the price changes of the time, the thing is, it's Orlando, and Orlando has a lot of cheaper hotels. The further you go, the cheaper the hotels went. So you can go in, if you didn't mind being maybe 30 minutes away or 40 minutes away from the convention center, you can turn around and go find a cheaper hotel, stay in, and still get to all the things you need to. And that's kind of what I did. However, this one, because it is where it's located at in LA, LA is known for their bad traffic. I don't want to be an hour and a half away from the convention center where I have to wake up super duper early in order to get to anything. And maybe you don't either. That's why some of my costs are going to be a lot higher than it will be probably for you if you live in the area, or if you're willing to stay further out. If you're willing to stay further out, then that won't be a problem for you. But for someone like me, I want to stay a little closer this time around, because this is really a vacation for me. And I just don't want to I want to avoid as much traffic as possible, because I'm already going to be waiting on a bunch of lines, getting into the convention center, going through security, and then getting into some of the panels. I already know that's going to happen, so I don't want to add any more. But that's what I want to do. You might not care, and you care more about cost so that you can just get there. So whatever that might be, for me, I know, because I live in a different city, I have to take planes, I have to think about Ubers, I got to think about food, I got to think about care for animals and stuff at home where I'm not there. My expenses are going to be a bit more than maybe yours will be. So keep that in mind. I'm thinking, and also to have spending money, because I want to have a certain amount of spending money. I put that all in my number. It's going to be closer to about 5,000, which would include all my spending money, all the things I take care of at home while I'm away for those days. Yours might be a lot lower. Yours might be a lot higher, because some of y'all are going to be taking your babies with you to the Star Wars celebration. Now, here's some of the things that I have figured out. I got to do Ubers, of course, to the airport and everything else back. So don't underestimate that. And the fact that maybe something happens and you might want to, like, for instance, I'm a moderator in a Star Wars group, okay? And some of our moderators are going to the next Star Wars celebration. And we plan on hanging out with each other for at least a dinner or two. So I have to think about making sure I have food money to eat out wherever we're going to eat out, which might be more expensive than I will normally eat during that trip. I also have to think about the fact that wherever we're eating out at, I might need to take an Uber back to the hotel instead of walking. So with that being said, I put some extra padding for some money for ride sharing, just in case, because we already know that we're going to do something like that. So if that is you, if you have a friend and you might be doing that, or you have a friend that's in the city, make sure you put some extra padding in what you're going to do, because that might be, you don't want to get caught with your pants down. Okay. So I thought about that. I thought about, I got the plane tickets. Okay. And without thinking about, first class, second class, I'm like, I need some leg room. I'm going to have a few $100s. I'm like, let me have about $600 for the plane trip, round trip, because depending on when I buy the plane ticket, it will depend on the fluctuations. And I don't know what that's going to look like. And you can't really buy a plane ticket that far in advance. So I just said, you know what? Just in case I have to get the ticket late, let me think about $600, and that should cover everything else. Plus, I like to get little snacks on the plane. That's me. That doesn't have to be you. So I'm going to just keep that. My plane ticket probably be closer to 4 or 5, depending on the time of the year. Once again, when I'm able to get it. So I just kept that in mind, just said 6, just for the heck of it. The other thing I considered, which was the hotels. Now, if Repop, who runs that event, has a contract with the hotels, sometimes they do, where they have hotel blocks so you can get them, we probably get a discounted rate on hotels. Maybe. This is not always true. Now, I am not counting a discounted rate, because sometimes the rate is only like $50 a night. That's it. What I'm looking at is what the current price of hotels are now. And the fact that with the time that Star Wars Celebration is happening, which is the first week of April, usually somebody still might be on spring break, and this is a large convention coming there, and they know that, so the hotels are going to be up in the price. You know how that works. So I looked at the price of some of the hotels. I found some of the closer hotels, because I don't want to walk 5 miles back and forth to the stadium, and I don't want to have to take an Uber back and forth. So I wanted a hotel that was close enough. It doesn't have to be the closest, but close enough that I can, walk back and forth. I know some of you are not used to like walking. I'm used to walking a little bit. New York is still in me. So I don't mind walking 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles. I don't mind doing that. If it means that I'm in a hotel that's not too far, that's not an hour and a half away, and that hotel is near places for me to go and eat, because I don't always want to eat in the hotel. I want to be able to go out the hotel and like, okay, well, there's some places that are around that I can eat. Not that they're going to be cheapest, but there's some places around that I can eat. I look at those things. I also look at sometimes if there's like a Rite Aid or some kind of drugstore that's around. It's like a Rite Aid that you can go to and like get some snacks and stuff like that. Why? Because I'm not thinking, but maybe I should teach you how I convention in another video. But those things are kind of important. Sometimes you need some allergy meds that you forgot or you ran out of or got knocked out your bag, and you need to be close to a pharmacy that got them. Sometimes that happens, for any of those who understand those trips. So I look at those things, and I looked at the prices of the hotel. There's some hotels that are less than $200 a night, but they're further north if you look on the map. And I think they look about to be a mile and change away. So it just depends on what you feel like doing, but I just put those group as possibilities. The other thing that most people don't remember is the food, right? If I plan to stay in that area, in that 5 mile radius, the food is probably going to be relatively expensive given that it's in the city of LA where it's at. Now, there's cheaper places to eat, but you got to go a little further out for that. And I don't know LA like that. Maybe you know LA like that, but there's just certain places that I'm not looking to traverse unless I've done some prior research. So assuming that I'm going to stay within 5 miles, unless I'm going out with my Star Wars group or we meet up with some other online buddies and we go somewhere that they know better than me, I'm probably not going to venture but so far unless I've done some research. I like to stay relatively closer to my hotel. Makes things a lot easier. So that's the kind of way I think about those things. And of course, I have animals at home that I have to make sure I take care of when I'm gone, because it is 4 days and most likely it'll be more like 5 to 6 days for me. So I got to make sure that they're taken care of. Maybe you don't have that problem. So just to keep those things in consideration, when you are planning your trip to Star Wars Celebration, make sure you keep that in line. For me, it comes out close to, and I want to have some money for me to spend there. So I included that too. To me, it comes to having about at least $5,000 for this trip. Might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less. We'll see as you follow me through this journey as we're planning and trying to make the deadlines of when we have money available. So yeah, it's a lot. It's an expensive trip. This is my vacation. For those of you who are Star Wars fans, it might be your vacation too if you get a chance to go. Now, with the expense of this experience, most of you, if you are not like me, like I am an entrepreneur, I make my money by helping other business owners make money primarily with the skill set. You may not be an entrepreneur. You might be someone who is working, maybe if you're lucky, you work in tech and make a lot of money, or you work in a place and make a lot of money where, hey, it's $5,000 for you. You don't care. This is the only vacation you go on, and that's it. That is not my story. I still, when it comes to this particular convention, which is one of my favorite conventions, I have to plan ahead quite a while. And because I want to stay the way I want to stay, I want to eat at the restaurants. I want to have my stuff I want to drink. I don't want to substitute too much on those things when I go on vacation. Not so much. I might be willing to I'll be willing to stay at a hotel that's like a 2-star hotel because I don't really care as much about that. But when it comes to making sure that I get to eat steak on this vacation, or I get to eat something special at a restaurant this vacation, that is something that is not really a negotiable for me. I don't mind not eating lunch during the day. I don't mind just eating a granola bar in the morning, but dinner is important. So I always keep that in mind for me. Now, I own a business. I have to generate enough clients to have extra money on the side where I'm going to go on this vacation the way I want to go on vacation. For those of you who have thinking about, hey, maybe I want to go, but damn, that's a lot of money and I got stuff, come up ahead. One of the things that you could do, like, depending on what your job is, maybe you could work overtime if you have an hourly job, or maybe, get a second job just temporarily just to, hey, I need $2,000 to go, $3,000 to go, so get a part-time job to do it. Or you can actually maybe sell a service or something that you do. It could be tutoring. When I started off, I was a tutor, and that's how I made my money. As I was tutoring, reading and math. That's what I did. Maybe you could do that. Maybe you speak another language and, get on these tutoring apps and get your book of business there. Maybe you could teach someone a skill. Like I can teach people certain skills. Like I can teach people how to run Facebook ads. I can teach people how to learn how to write copy that makes people spend money. I can teach people certain things, right? And people have paid me to teach them those things in the past. So that has been something that I could do on the side if I wanted extra money. Or I can continue to get more clients in what I'm doing and say, okay, well, this money here is for that. What you can do or what you decide to do is really up to you. But I will be sharing my journey and me monetizing actually my newsletter, which is a nerdy newsletter, and which I'm going to use in part to subsidize this trip. So I'm going to share a little bit of that, the frustrations, the pain, some tips if you decide to do something so that maybe you can follow along and maybe start your own thing in order to fund your trip. So hopefully this was helpful for all you out there who are Star Wars fans and going to Star Wars Celebration. We're going to talk more about planning this thing and also the stuff I'm doing to pay for this thing as well. So if you love to follow along, I'd love to have you. Make sure you press subscribe on the button. That's how you help me on this channel. Until next time, may the Force be with you.